One, go.
All right, welcome back. I'm sorry if we had a technical difficulty here with the internet, so we should be good to go. So I just about to finish to read the last paragraph from the description about how we approach the study of the Zohar. Although you may not have a knowledge of Aramaic, look first at the Aramaic text before reading the English. Do not be discouraged by difficulties with comprehension. Instead, open your heart to the spiritual transformation of the Zohar which is offering you. Ultimately, the Zohar
It was okay for a few seconds. Okay, we are back. Hopefully it's going to continue. Okay, you can continue.
Send some prayers to the internet. Or maybe yes. Zuckerberg needs some prayers. So we need some strong, powerful energy this week.
Welcome. Hello.
So, okay. So we're back. Last week we spoke about the story of Bereshit, which is translated very poorly into English as Genesis. But we learned last week, for those of you who were with us, that actually it's much more than the word Genesis. There were a lot of concealed secrets and wisdom within those words. But nevertheless, it spoke about the process of creation. Are we okay with the internet? We learned in the Bible, or even the Torah, is called in Hebrew, which is actually meaning direction or instruction. Everything that we learn in school, forget about it. We're not here to discuss historical events or any biblical stories. Everything we learn here are codes. So we're going to learn what is the code of the word Noach, and what is the code of the ark that he built, what is the code of the flood, and what is the code of the water. They are all codes. And we're going to understand how those teachings are pertaining to our own personal reality, and how we can really tap into the most important aspect, which is our ability to be the creators in this reality. This is what we're here for. So this is really the essence of what we're going to get here from here today. So a few things we spoke about, that actually the prologue to the story of Noach begins in past week. Past week we spoke about the entire story of creation, that is actually really about the secrets, how we materialize things in this reality. We're giving tools how to be creators. And then at the end of the portion of the story of Bereshit, we talk about a very, very negative ending. So I just want to start with that, because this is the ending of Bereshit, which is the prologue of what we're going to talk today. We're talking today. Just before I read, I want to speak just a couple of very brief things about this month of Scorpio. In Hebrew, it's called Cheshvan.
Hello, Scorpio.
Hello, month of Scorpio, yes. So the story of Noach always opens the month of Scorpio. Now, the month of Scorpio is a very, very powerful month. It has this way. Okay. In this month, it's very, very energetically charged. So if you look at it from more like a spiritual process, or from more a practical point of view, the past few weeks, especially the month of Tishrei, which is the month of a lot of different Kabbalistic holidays and a lot of events, it was that basically the preparation for the launch. The month of Scorpio is like you jump. You got all the tools, you got the parachute, and you're jumping into the reality. It's kind of like the, how to say, aratza in English. Aratza is like you build some kind of machine or some kind of an instrument, and then the running. Is that the right word? The runoff, or it's basically, it's ready for, you're ready to go, to launch off, to take off. So the month of Scorpio is the time, like, it's the preparation are over. You're into the field, you're into action, you're into manifestation. And if we speak in terms of system of the seven that we talk about, we have the 7 days, or the system of the seven. Number 8 is the beginning of the cycle. And astrologically, this month is really the month of manifestation. It's really that's when the time when you really make things happen. Okay, so that's kind of the preparation. And there is also reason why there's a correlation between the story of the flood, which is not I'm not talking just on a historical aspect, but actually on an energetic level. Why that happens in the month of Scorpio? Because in this month there's a tremendous energy of creativity or destruction. For those of you who are familiar with the energy of Scorpio, it's either that or that. either going this way or that way. You know, it can be either that. There's like
you probably know what you're talking about.
Yes, I know a little bit. So it's really about, we also learning about bringing some of the balance of the Libra of the month, the previous month, into this month, because this month can be very extreme. So first of all, we want to be aware of those energies, and we want to carry some of the tools that we learn in the month of Libra, of that energy, to bring the balance, not get extreme. So one of the aspects of the, utilizing this wisdom is not being reactive, which can be like sometimes very challenging to some of us in different aspects. It can be, some of us can be challenged with some foods or with some drinks. Some of us can be the restriction with anger or expression of certain things. There's many aspects for us, but nevertheless the energy is available. So if we understand that the energy is here, we'll learn how to really utilize that in a positive way. So this is really kind of the little introduction I wanna speak about. And also very interesting thing that kind of has to do with the story of the flood. Last night I watched a documentary by Leonardo DiCaprio. He's also a Scorpio, interesting enough.
What's the name of the documentary?
I will say in a minute.
Okay.
And the documentary is called Before the Flood. And the interesting thing is that this documentary was released by National Geographic this week. It's a very interesting timing that this documentary is released about speaking in the context of the flood. And I think the documentary was, I'm going to speak in different, there's different points today that have to do with what he was talking in the movie, because it's very, very important documentary to watch. I didn't know that, for example, that Leonardo DiCaprio has been very avidly active for preservation of environment, raising awareness about the global warming, and he even became not just the producer of this film, but also other documentary which is very highly recommended. It's called Cowspiracy, and he really understands the urgency of what we're talking here today. For 20 years he's been speaking about it. So, and we'll see how is that to do with what we're going to be discussing about Noach today, because there is a correlation. It's very auspicious how those things are timed right now in this week. So without this understanding, let's jump into I want to read a couple of phrases or verses from the previous week of the ending of Bereshit, which are the prologue for today, for Noach. ויאמר אדוני אמחה את האדם אשר בראתי מעל פני האדמה. רבי יוסי פתח כי לא מחשבותיי מחשבותיכם, תחזה כד ברנש באי לנקמה מאחרה, שתיק ולה אמר מידי, דאילו עוד אי יסתמר ולה יחילי. Translation. And Hashem, or the Creator, how it's called in Hebrew, said, I shall destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth. Rabbi Yosef quotes, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. Come and behold, when a man wants to take vengeance on another human being, he keeps quiet and tells him nothing, because if he discloses his intentions, his opponent will be on guard and hard to overpower. And I'm going to continue the second part. אבל קודש בריחו לאו הכי אביד, לה אביד דינה בעלמה, עד דאכריז ועודה להו, זמנת רן ותלתה, בגין דלה איתי דיימחי בידי, דיימה לה מה עבדת, ולה הסתמר מיני, ולה הכילה קיימה קמי. Translation. Yet the Holy One, blessed be He, does not act in this manner. He does not execute judgment on the world before He declares and informs it of His intentions. Once, twice, and 3 times. Then no one may reproach Him and ask, what are you doing? Nor can one guard against Him or stand up to Him. So it's very interesting how in the ending of the book of Bereshit, we already kind of have the preview of what's coming next in Noach. And going back to I was talking about Leonardo DiCaprio, let's before we get into the spiritual meanings of the story and what that pertains to our lives, let's speak about kind of the global situation and what's going on in the world. There are signs everywhere. And the Zohar speaks very clearly that when a human being has some ill intentions against somebody else, a human being will usually not expose their intentions. They will act in a very quiet way to execute their malicious intentions. However, source or God or whatever a name you want to use always gives us warnings once, twice, 3 times. I think we got much more warnings. If you just look at the previous last 10 years, how many documentaries have been produced to warn us against cataclysm that's going on around the world. And it's not like there is conspiracy theories are just floating around. There are actually hard scientific evidence that's showing what's going on. In the documentary of Leonardo DiCaprio, he was traveling around the world and meeting a lot of different people in different places, and you see, like, I don't remember the island, but there's so many places, islands have been wiped out. Entire communities that a few years ago were tourist attractions, they don't exist anymore because the sea level has risen. And he's also have an interesting conversation with the mayor of a certain city in Florida. I forgot the name of the city, but he talks about what kind of measures they're taking because the levels of the water are rising. So I have to do constantly different infrastructure improvements so the water would drain. So it's not like we're just talking about potential cataclysms. It's actually happening right now. And as we will see today, we are the cause. We are the cause of all this situation. We are the ones who are actually making those things happen. We're not. One of the things we're going to learn also in this portion, we cannot separate our actions as human beings from the earth. We are very intimately connected. So I really would like to really emphasize the wisdom in this what we're going to be studying here today, not just to empower us to be more successful, achieve more in our life, and to be more greater human beings, but also to cultivate awareness of the consequences of what we're doing, or actually even more what we witness and we ignore. We spoke about this last week, about the quote that I repeat all the time by Albert Einstein, that bad things happen in the world not because of bad people doing bad things, but because of good people are not doing enough to stop it. So this is really a very important key of this class that I really want to emphasize and talk about. So I want to jump in more into the Zohar because we have a lot to cover here today. And for those of you who are not so much familiar with the Hebrew language, the word Noach actually has a meaning. Noach comes from the word comfortable in Hebrew. Noach, it means comfortable. Also comes from the word lenachem, which means to counsel. So the word, the meaning of the name has incredibly importance in our study today. It's not just a name. There is no arbitrary names in the Torah, and more so in the Zohar. Each name is a code, so we understand what's the importance of the understanding of this name to our wisdom. And as always, I welcome everybody to, of course, here, but also those who are joining us online. If you have any questions you want to post, any comments or observations, I really welcome that, and I'll be more than happy to answer and to respond to the best of my understanding. Okay? So let's start with verse number 1 from the Zohar. רבי חייא פתח, ועמך כולם צדיקים, לעולם ירשו ארץ נצר מטעי מעשה ידי להתפאר. זכאים נינון ישראל, דמשתדלי באורייתא, וידעי ערכין דאורייתא, בדבגינה יזכון לעלמא דעתי. In translation, these are the generations of Noach. Rabbi Chia opened the discussion with the verse, Noach was a righteous man, and your people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. They shall be branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. It was raised after the statement, these are the generations of Noach. The next should have continued, Shem, Ham, and Yefet, which are the children of Noach, but again, these are code names. Shem, Ham, and Yefet, it's not just his children, but they're all code names. It should not have ended with Noach was a righteous man. He further stated, happy are Israel, who occupy themselves with the Torah and are familiar with its paths, through which they will merit the world to come. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, the term Israel, it's not about the land of Israel. It's not about a Jewish person. We spoke that an Israelite is a person that is aligned with source. Yeshar El means aligned with the thought of creation. So when we talk about the name of Israel, just don't think about people from Israel or Jews. Think about somebody who's aligned with source, with creation. So we speak about the understanding, this verse Toldot means these are the chronicles of Noach, or the generations of Noach. And why the Zohar talks about the chronicles? Because we have some kind of an understanding for us to receive here. What kind of wisdom that we're discussing about the chronicles, so we can learn to do better in our current reality, which is not further from being really similar to what was going on in those days, as we're going to study today. The urgency is very eminent, and many people I don't know how many people actually know that Noach was building the ark for 120 years. 120 years. In those days, they lived much longer than today, which was about 5,000 years ago, 4,500 years ago. And for those 120 years, he was warning the people of imminent danger. That's what's going on. It was, when he said that he was a righteous person in his generation, he was very highly aware, and that was part of the reason he came into the world, to show people that there is some path they're going, which is not the more very constructive path, going towards destruction. And this is going to be also another very important thing that we're going to understand, how we can be more efficient in our responsibility in our own community, in our environment, in our world, en masse as well. So let's continue, verse number 2. תחזה, כל ישראל יתלון חולקה לעלמה דעתי, מה יטעמה בגין דנטרין ברית דעלמה, יתקיים עלי, כדא אם לא בריתי יומם, ולילה חוקות שמיים וארץ לא שמתי, ועל דא ישראל דנטרי ברית, וקבילו לי, יתלון חולקה בעלמה דעתי. Translation. Come and behold, all Israelites have a portion in the world to come. Why is this so? Because they observe the covenant on which the world is established. This is as it's written in the verse, if my covenant be not day and night, if were as if I had not appointed the ordinance of heaven and earth, meaning that Israel keep in holiness the covenant between them and God by never discreting it with spilling semen in vain or by sexual immoral behavior. Therefore Israel, who has accepted the covenant and observed it, have a portion in the world to come. Now again, we speak in terms of code. So we spoke that an Israelite, somebody is aligned with source. Now the word covenant in a religious context of Judaism talks about circumcision. But we have a problem here because Noach was not a Jew. And the first circumcision we discussed in the Bible was only in Abraham, which appeared 10 generations later. So what kind of covenant we're talking here? Obviously it's not a circumcision. So I want to explain the word covenant, why it's so important. So in Hebrew, the word covenant, it's written like that, brit. Brit. So the word covenant, and we say brit milah, which means the covenant of the word, okay? We're again not discussing here a circumcision. It's not about circumcision. It's about what kind of covenant we are maintaining with source, okay? And we're going to understand that the word Noach, it's a code name that have to do with what kind of covenant we establish with source, with creation. Now, if I go back to when we studied the portion of Bereshit, the word of Bereshit, it's made of two words, Brit Esh. So Brit Esh means the covenant of fire.
Sure.
Oh, chocolate.
Oh my, no, it's
ice cream. Wow,
chocolate ice cream.
So the word Bereshit is broken down into two words, Brit Esh, covenant of fire. So we already can identify here also something very interesting. Previous week, the theme was establishing a covenant of fire between us, humans, and source. And then in this week, we're talking about a flood, fire and water. What's the relationship? What's the meaning in that, okay? So this is the way, that's the Brit Esh and the Brit Milah, the covenant of word that we want to talk about today, which is extremely important terms. So let's continue. ולא עוד
אלא בגין כך יקרון צדיקים. מכאן או לפנה, כל מן דנתיר היי ברית, דעלמה יתקיים עלי. יקרי צדיק, thank you so much. יקרי צדיק מנלן מיוסף, בגין דנתר לי לברית עלמה. זכה דיקרי צדיק, ועל כך ועמך כולם צדיקים, לעולם ירשו ארץ. In translation. Furthermore, as a result, they are called righteous. We deduce from this that whoever observes the covenant upon which the world is established is called righteous. How do we know this? We know this from Yosef, who observed the everlasting covenant by not mating with his master's wife. And again, Yosef is a code, and his master's wife is also a code, which means that he maintained a holiness of the presence of Shekhinah. But that's another story. But we're going to talk about what kind of essence of covenant we're talking here. And he was therefore called righteous. And this is why it is written, your people also shall be righteous, they shall inherit the land forever. Rabbi Chia does explain the verse, Noach was a righteous man, as meaning that Noach observed the covenant. For this reason, his offspring have continuity. The verse thus states, they are the generations of Noach. Noach was a righteous man because his righteousness and the continuity of his children are connected. So I don't want to talk about the physical aspect. I want to talk about what is really the spiritual importance of what we're talking here about covenants and maintaining righteousness. So the word, what the Zohar is teaching us is that we have really receiving here the secrets of success in this reality. Obviously, the story of the flood is giving us a hint about, or I would say very strong hint, how to avoid certain path of humanity that bring us to destruction. And what does it have to do with being righteous? We know that the word Yosef in Kabbalah, it pertains to the Sphira of Yesod. And we live in the world of Malchut, which is physicality, and Yesod is our connection to the upper worlds. So what the Zohar is teaching us, in order to maintain circuitry of energy into this reality, we need to maintain a certain understanding. Because the Sphira of Yesod in the human body represented by sexual organ. So we know that sexual energy, especially now in the month of Scorpio, that is very strong sexual energy, if we don't use it in the conscious or the mindful way, can bring a lot of destruction. Okay? Now, one of the things that we learn from the Zohar about the time of the flood, or of the historical kind of events or things that happened on the planet before the flood, there was a lot of negative sexual energy that was drawn into this planet, which brought a lot of destruction. So one of the things that we are learning about Noach, that he preserved his covenants. In other words, he preserved certain integrity. He understood there was a certain relationship between a human being, not just as a physical being, but also a creation of source. So whatever we do with our physical body is also have to do with our alignment, with understanding for what purpose we created here for. So we know that our biggest desire in this reality, we want to enjoy creation, which is wonderful. But nevertheless, when we do that for negative purposes, it can bring a lot of destruction. And that have also to do with what caused with the big this disaster that happened in the form of the flood on our planet. Now, another thing that the Zohar is teaching us, that the code name for it have to do with the covenant, the word Brit, covenant, it have to do with Yesod. Okay? So that's Yesod, which means a foundation. Translation, literal translation. Now the second word of ark, which is Teva, I'm going to write this here in Hebrew and in English as well. Teva. Teva means ark in English. So in other words, the ark is the vessel. So what the Zohar is, we are starting to reveal the codes of the words here, that the ark itself is the vessel. And Noach is the awareness that is maintaining a certain purity of the vessel, maintaining its integrity, maintaining its covenant or its alignment with the purpose of its creation. So that's what we're starting to understand what it's about. And we're going to have a much deeper explanation of the ark. There's much more for us to explore here today. Let's have some of the aspect. Thank you.
So good.
Okay, so let's continue. Let's read from verses 4 and 5 from the Zohar. רבי אלעזר אמר, אלה בכל אתר פסל את הראשונים תנינן וכולי. מה כתיב לאלה בפרשתה דבראשית? ונהר ירצה מעדן להשקות את הגן, ומשם ייפרד וגומר. ההוא נהר דנגיד ונפיק, ואיה לגינתה, ואשקי לי משקיול דלאלה, ואבד לי נייחה, ואבד איבין ורבי זרעין, והוא כדי נייחה לחולה, ודע נייחה לי לגינתה, ודע אבד נייחה בי, כדע כי בו שבת וכתיב וישבות ביום השביעי, ודע רזה דמילה, דע אבי תולדות ולאחרה. In translation, Rabbi Elazar said that we have learned that whenever the term these, or in Hebrew is ele, appears, it always annuls something previously mentioned. Now, it is written in the portion of Bereshit, and a river went out of Eden. Now we know that in the story of Bereshit, it talks about the Garden of Eden. We're not here describing gardens and rivers. What we are taught here, there is a certain structure that maintains flow of energy into this universe. So one explanation we learn is about having an ark and having the covenant of the ark, but also another metaphor and allegory that the Zohar is using is having a garden, and the garden is maintained by a flow of water. So the water represents or is as a metaphor for a flow of energy. So the Zohar is trying to teach us what are the different dynamics of maintaining a foundation of and maintaining structure of life in this planet, as opposed to what are the negative aspects of abstaining from this connection, which brings destruction. Okay? Let's continue. 5. Okay, let's go to verses number 28 and 29. ותשחט הארץ לפני אלוקים, אמר רבי יהודה. כיוון דכתיב ותשחט הארץ עמי לפני אלוקים, אלא כיוון דעבדו חובהון בהתגליה לעיניהון דחולה, כדן לפני אלוקים כתיב. I'm going to continue the next one. רבי יוסי אמר, אנא יפחה אמרית, ותשחט הארץ לפני אלוקים, בקדמתה לפני אלוקים, דלהבו עבדי בהתגליה, לפני אלוקים עבדו, ולא לפני בני נשה, ולבסוף עבדו בהתגליה, ההד ותמלא הארץ חמס. דלהבה אתר בכל הרעה, דלהבה בהתגליה, ובגין כך בתרי גבני אמר קרא. Translation. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim. Rabbi Yehuda asked, if it is, and the earth was corrupt, why before Elohim? It is not obvious. And he replied, it is because they performed their sins openly in front of everyone's eyes. And that is why the verse states before Elohim. There's a couple of things here. First of all, we learned that previous week that when we said Bereshit bara Elohim, the Bereshit created Elohim. Elohim is the outcome of creation. Elohim is not the creator. So Elohim represents a physical reality. That's one thing. Now the second thing we learn here that there was a certain aspect of the negativities that were going on on the planet on those days that were actually not revealed in front of everyone. And if we fast forward into our reality, if you look at the news today, it's very hard to conceal negativities or things that are very corrupt that's going on our world. Like if you look at the campaigns of both Clinton and Trump, the daily disclosure of their past negativities, whether it's through WikiLeaks or whatever other sources, nothing is concealed, and they're not even not very even concerned about even people revealing those things, because they think that they're actually immune to the outcomes of what they have done. They have good lawyers, they have good lobbying, etc., etc. But what happened in those days, there was, when we talk about particularly the story of the flood, there was an aspect of the negativity that were actually done in secrecy, but eventually they were revealed. And some, what the Zohar explains, that the negativity level that is actually done in a public way, it really shows the level of corruption. Because if it's done in secrecy, it's less of a harsh of a reality. But when we see things that are happening in front of our eyes, we see, like, for example, I'm really highly touched and really moved by what's going on in Standing Rock, North Dakota, for example. I mean, you see in the cameras peaceful people sitting on land that belongs, it's a sacred land, belongs to the native Indians of that particular part of the country. And you see a hostile takeover of corporations. They're going there in front of your eyes. They're spraying people with pepper spray. They are bringing dogs, armored vehicles, people heavily armed. And they're basically in front of your eyes, on the camera, on the news, they're performing things that you don't even imagine, like how unproportionate it is. The use of force, the abuse, the legitimacy that oil corporation decides they're going to build a pipeline on the land that actually it's sacred to the natives. They don't care what people think about them.
And the danger of poisoning the water.
The danger of poisoning the water. So it gives us a very alarming understanding that we live in a time that those negativities are actually performed right in front of our eyes.
That's the... Yeah.
So this is what they're talking about, okay? So nothing is hidden. I mean, you see things are done right in front of your eyes, okay?
Yeah.
So let's continue. רבי יוסי אמר, אנא יבחה המרית ותשחט הארץ לפני האלוקים בקדמתה ולפני האלוקים דלהבו עבדי... excuse me, I'm reading the translation. I already read that. I'm reading the translation. So
it's the ice cream.
The ice cream.
Makes you confused.
Thank you for the ice cream. Rabbi Yosei said, I believe the opposite. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim means that they did not sin openly. They sinned only before Elohim and not before man. But eventually they also sinned openly. As it is written, and the earth was filled with violence and corruption, which indicates that there was not a place on earth that did not witness their sins. Therefore, the verse declares that they sinned in two ways, that is, in hiding and in the open. So what we really learn here, there's two things I want to talk about. First of all is the word that is used by the Zohar is the word Hamas. Okay?
Hamas. That's very familiar name.
Yes, very familiar name. Hamas.
Yeah, it's not from today.
Hamas, yeah. So I'm sorry to disappoint the terror group or whatever, it's a political group now, whatever it's called right now, or the way it's perceived, Hamas. Hamas was not invented in Gaza.
Yeah.
Hamas is actually a Hebrew word, Hamas. What it means? Hamas means corruption, means violence. So I think the name they chose to adopt, it's very appropriate based on their actions. But it's not just the territory of this particular organization. As you can see, Hamas takes place in Standing Rock right now, in front of our eyes. The corruption and the violence. And why we're kept repeating this negative aspect of corruption, and what's the relevance, what's the urgency? What we see on our planet right now, the corruption is everywhere. If you see what's going on in Standing Rock, it's for me a very, very alarming representation of a tipping point that we can reach as humanity. Because there's always has been a small group of individuals that they obtained power, but the expense on which they obtained the power and what's the price that others paid for it, it can be irreversible. So the Hamas, the corruption, is very prominent in our planet. And we all see that. And the reason I'm so emphasizing that, the fact that it's actually all over social media, it's not just on the news, because the news are owned by certain corporations. So those corporations, they choose in a very manipulative way, they very handpick, select what stories they tell you and how they present them to you. So I'm not even talking about mass media, I'm talking about social media right now, because the corruption is everywhere. It's in front of our eyes. Whether you see the demonstration in Venezuela right now, people are hungry there. Whether you see the destruction of rainforests in the Amazon, how they cut trees because they want to raise more cattle, so they can sell more meat, but we're losing the lands of this planet, etc., etc., etc. It's all over. And the reason I'm emphasizing that, because it's the time for us to really take action.
Yeah, we even have a recordings of Obama from last year that he said, this is never going to happen, what's happening right now in the court. Right? He said, we're never going to do this corruption in that area. There is a recording. He promised, and he lied.
Thank you for reminding about Obama, because part of Obama's, and again, I'm not taking a stand, Republican or Democrat, nothing about that. I'm really talking about corruption. Corruption is everywhere. Whether you're Republican, if it's in the Republican Party or Democrat, it's everywhere. Obama is a lawyer, and when he was doing his campaign to raise, awareness and to gain voice and get more election, he went to the Native Indians in Standing Rock, and he promised them that he told them that as a lawyer he will honor their sacred land and he will protect their interests. Did he fulfill that? No. We see the actions and we see the results right now. And what we see is the level of corruption that is really managed by big corporations, not just in this current country, all over the world. But the more alarming aspect for us, to all of us to understand, those corporations, they're very small, what they call the elite, the 1%, whatever. They are not, they don't care about the outcome of their actions. They think that they are, in a separate bubble. But is that the reality? Not necessarily so. If you look at the documentary that I mentioned, Leonardo DiCaprio's, when he interviewed the mayor of this very wealthy city in Florida, I'm trying to remember the name.
I don't remember.
And even the wealthy neighborhoods there, very wealthy neighborhoods, they experience the waves that are coming.
Yeah,
it's happening. I mean, it's not just, I'm not just imagining. It's not a conspiracy theory. The water level is rising, so the waves are not. They don't make a difference whether you live in a poor neighborhood or a wealthy neighborhood.
They actually put in $400 million to raise that area up.
Yeah, to build all kind of holes to let the water go through, etc. But it's not going to make a big difference. So the understanding of corruption, it's what we really have to see how that pertains to us. But I'm not talking about pointing just the fingers or outside of us, but it's looking inside of ourselves, in our own reality.
Yeah.
Where do we see corruption in our environment, in our reality? And again, the thing with the water, it's happening everywhere. Like, for example, in Mount Shasta, look at Mount Shasta, what's going on here? There's a group of people, very corrupt people. I don't want to say names, but I think all of those that actually live here, you know who I'm talking about. They are motivated by certain interests to sell the water of this place and to make money. But the price that the environment will pay, the entire state of California will pay, it's very high. And I'm saying that because I want to really awake in each and every one of you the sense of accountability. Okay, we understand how that relates to Noach, because Noach represents a proactive person that actually takes certain action from the understanding of commitment to the source. And the commitment must be expressed through actions. We cannot just sit and send prayers and meditations. It is wonderful. We have to take actions. Okay? Now, when we talk about, I spoke about the documentary before the flood, but also I want to talk about what kind of consciousness
Are we okay with the internet, Maya?
Yes, we're good.
I'm talking about what kind of consciousness is running those people that we call the corrupt people. And what we call in Kabbalah, there's a term that defines them very well. And you might think these are the people who are like evil, or these people are selfish, etc. But there's a very beautiful term in Kabbalah. It's called hakofer ba'ikar. Hakofer ba'ikar means the one who denies the truth. What does it mean? So these people, when they talk, great example of this kind of consciousness, these people, they completely deny that we're in a verge of a disaster, a big disaster on the planet. And all they say that, oh, there is no global warming. Oh, there is no, the sea levels do not rise. There are no epidemics around the planet. They only see a certain aspect that there only benefits them. That's one aspect. But really more so, the more dangerous aspect of those that we call those who deny the truth, they only look at the physical aspect of reality. They deny the divinity of this creation. Okay? So when I go back to the story of Noach, what the Zohar is teaching us, he maintained a purity of connection to the source, of understanding that this entire physical reality comes from a divine blueprint. It's not a standalone system. Like a scientist, like a very traditionally trained scientist, look at physical reality, and you only look at the effect. It's okay. This is what it is, and this is it. There is no any universal force. There is no any unseen force that's running the system. So part of us awakening the covenant, what we call the covenant of fire, because the fire is the fire of the life force that breathes inside of us, in all the living beings. So part of the realization of the covenant is the covenant that it's the understanding of the covenant brings us life force into this entire planet, honoring it and keeping that sacred. Okay, so this is part of the covenant we're talking. Keep repeating this word. And I want to talk also about another negative aspect of those who what we call the kofrim baikar, those who dismiss the sacredness. If you look at what was going on in World War II by the Nazis, the Aryan, how do you call it, theory or whatever it's called, Torat Gezer, the Aryans, or if you look at what Stalin was standing for, which is a very extreme idealism that wiped out 55 million people. So those leaders or groups of people that keep appearing on this planet, these are the same people who brought about the big cataclysm 4,500 years ago. And this repeating itself, okay? And it's not repeating itself because this consciousness, it's not something that is not part of a creation, because the negative forces exist here, so we can do something about it. This is why we come here to exercise our ability as creators. So part of this understanding that we can do something about it. And we must start with our immediate community, our environment, even in our families. I recorded a video a few days ago, and I was talking about also about standing room, because this situation really bothers me. But also I was talking about the understanding that the negativity begins in our own first of all in our inner reality. If we see negativity that's happening, whether it's in Standing Rock or it's in any other part of the world or the country, we first of all have to understand that we are recognizing something that we exist within ourselves. So we have to first of all to see where in our own reality we can identify the negativities and reawaken this connection to the source. That's one thing. The second thing is what actions we can take. Because if we see something wrong in front of our eyes, we don't take any action, we're becoming part of the problem. We become partners in the problem. Okay?
It's good that we have tools like Zohar and meditations of Anna Bekoach.
Yeah. We're going to talk about it more. But the meditations and the Zohar is very important, but also the actions. The actions are very, very important. Taking actions. Yeah. One of the things that my teacher was mentioning about, they did a study about what keeps successful societies thriving. What's the secret
to success of successful societies, the secret to their success is the ability to believe in a divine force. It's not about having read a lot of Tony Robbins books or doing a lot of personal development courses. It's really having a deep and intimate connection to the unseen forces of creation. Because this connection that we discuss as a part of the covenant and the vessel that we have as human beings is have to do with this connection with the unseen. We cannot just justify this creation just on what we see with our eyes. So the understanding of these unseen forces is extremely, extremely important. That's what the story of Noach is here for us to awaken in this portion. And one of the things that really moved me, made me very very upset. Actually, there was a video by a native Indian that I watched that he talks about all the different atrocities that are taking place in Standing Rock right now. And he said like how those violent police people and soldiers, like heavily armed, they were completely disregarding the spirituality of the native Indians.
Yeah.
This is really the worst expression of how those people, whether they're corporations or other companies, they completely disregard spirituality. How they talk to these people, they're completely laughing at their rituals, about their connection to the earth, to the planet, etc. This is really, really a very, very troubling and alarming expression of this disconnection from source. That's actually it's happening right in front of our eyes. So what we are here to awaken is really to understand that the word Brit, or the covenant, is about our commitment to our divine nature in our connection to the planet. This is the covenant, which is represented by the ark. Okay? And what we want to strengthen in our awareness is our connection will keep attracting the abundance and the flow of life into this planet. If we not maintain it, it will attract the opposite of that, and we don't want that. Now, also the Zohar talks about, when we talk about the idea, the understanding of the word tzaddik, righteous person, what does it mean to be because it talks a lot about Noach, he was a righteous person in his time, etc. What is really the essence of righteous person? Righteous person is not, thank you. Righteous person is not just somebody who's doing good things and is very humble, etc., which is great attributes of a righteous person. But there is certain relationship between what a righteous person do and how they, what kind of relationship they have with the reality. So what the Zohar is teaching us that the righteous person is connected to the unseen world. So it's a person that is not motivated by getting the benefits of what they do. And many times what these people do, it's unseen. You don't see what they do. And the righteous person is defined by the Zohar is not conditioned by what kind of reward they will receive from other people or from society, etc. So really, the bottom line of the understanding of the code name of Noach, it's a commitment, an awareness of commitment to the connection of our connection to the source, why we're here for, and how sacred this reality is for us, and how we are committed to preserve it, hold it sacred, not to abuse it, not to abuse others. So let's continue with the Zohar. Anybody have questions? Any comments, observations?
No?
No? Okay.
All good. All good.
Also, it's very important. We spoke about corruption. It's really part of human nature to be corrupt. And we know that power really corrupts people. So there's a great example of there's a very famous hotel franchise in America. It's called Johnson & Johnson Hotels. And they have a certain policy that when a new manager comes and works in a certain hotel, they stay there only for 1 year. After 1 year, they have to relocate to another state in another, even sometimes very remote place.
Very clever.
It's very clever. Why are they doing that? Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, they're doing that because if he stays this 4 years and he's gained this power, he can use that power maybe not the right way.
In other words, to become corrupt.
Right.
If
But,
you want,
yeah.
if you want a system to be successful, you have to make sure that people don't put their own personal agendas before their roles or their responsibilities.
Yeah.
And we're all humans, we all have weaknesses, and that can be very dangerous. So that's why one of the reasons this hotel franchise is so successful, because they have this policy, they understand.
And in the first year, all the managers, they want to, prove themselves. They're working hard. They're doing the best.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be there for 10 years or 20 years, they're not going to work the same that they work in the first year.
Yeah.
It's also kind of more, giving the best.
And again, I want to talk about Mount Shasta because I live here. So what I witness here with the water situation, it's a very, very great example of corruption, what's going on here. You see certain elected officials, without putting names, etc. Elected officials that they were elected to perform a task for the people, by the people. And you start to dig a little bit deeper and you see that there are some personal agendas involved. And the price that people pay here and might pay, it can be very, very high price. And I don't think Mount Shasta is the only place on the planet it's happening. It's happening everywhere. I read stories of corruption. It's a microcosm, but it's happening in Israel. I'm from Israel, so I hear a lot of stories of the worst corruption that I cannot even imagine.
Yeah.
So people are put in places of power and they're abusing this power, whether they use it for sexual benefits or financial benefits. Head of corporations in America, they're having ties with lobbying companies in the Congress. I mean, it's so corrupt. I cannot even, just talking about it, it makes me shiver. The level of corruption is so bad.
Yes. Even when Hillary or Trump, they are talking right together, I mean, on the stage, it's not, they don't show there who is better, who did better things. They just show how the other person is worse, how the other person much more corrupted. They all show the negative aspects of, the other person. So I'm just thinking, why we would love to have a leader like that? For what?
It's excellent. It's great that you mentioned leader, because 1 week from today we have the elections.
Oh yeah.
We have the elections, and we have two candidates. We have Trump and we have Hillary Clinton. Again, I'm not talking about Republicans or Democrats,
No.
but if you really see what's going on here, even the election is not about Democrats or Republicans. The election is who will be elected to give us the worst scenario, the least worst scenario. We know those two scenarios are not very ideal, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Both have a big pile of skeletons behind them, both these people. One in the world of business, the other one with all this stuff revealed by the FBI, etc. So the people are right now in the situation to choose who are they going to elect, who's going to give them the least destructive future. This is kind of where we're coming into. Because people know right now that these two options are not very good options. But the choice is who's going to be the least worst for us. Think about, this is kind of the mentality of people.
So we need to go to the source and just see who created that in the first place, all this reality, right?
Well, we all created that. Like I said
Right.
before in previous classes, that my teacher said that every nation gets the leaders they deserve.
However, they have also choice to change it.
They do, but right now we don't have a lot of choice. The elections are next week. So there is no... I know there's other independent parties like Jill Stein, or there's many others like Clifton Roberts. There are many independent parties, but unfortunately they don't have the same financial power behind them. So right now this looks like the two prominent options. So I'm not here to talk about giving bad news, but I do want to again, this week is really awakening the activism within us, but activism in our own reality. Starting first of all to recognize the negativities, the corruption within ourselves. Okay, it's not about pointing the finger outside. We have to recognize where in our lives we can strengthen the covenant with Source. We see the corruption within us. Source created us, but also Source created Trump. Source created Hillary Clinton. Source created all the negative, all those people we label as negative people, but they all came from the same source. But when we recognize the negativity within them, it's coming because we recognize something within ourselves. So it's not to say that they're worse than us. We're not better than them.
and there's something we can do about it. So this is really what it's about. Not about pointing fingers outside. It's seeing what's the negativities within us we want to transmute. Okay, so like I spoke in previous video, if we see envy, like let's see, I see a person that they have a success that I want to achieve. So if I recognize envy in this person, how do I transmute the envy? I transmit it by connected to abundance, that I know that there is enough for everybody. So instead of feeling envy to this person, I feel, well, I'm so happy this person achieved this success. I bless this person with a success, and I know that it's actually available for all of us. That's one thing. Or anybody else want to give example how you transmit negativity in your own reality?
Well, sometimes it happens automatically, the jealousy or envy, as you said. But again, I think it's to stop and realize where it comes from. This comes from lack, right? If I'm jealous, that means I have some lack inside. That how come I'm saying, oh, this guy has this and that, money and homes and cars and all the abundance. So it's probably, again, like you said, going back to my inside and say, oh, probably I have a lack.
Mm-hmm.
To see, oh, I don't have this and this and this. So first of all, stop it and just appreciating what I do have.
Mm-hmm.
What I do have.
Exactly.
I have. If I start doing, list, oh, I have so much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's changing the automatic behavior on my mind, right? Mind, physical mind, which is such a different than my soul and my heart and other things.
I mean, even the soul and the heart can be, we all have the negative inclination to react in a certain way. And this is the whole point that we recognize. But I want to hear maybe more examples how you can, on your personal level, how you can recognize and you can transmute that. Because saying, oh, I have negativity, I'm just going to put it on the carpet, it doesn't work because it's going to come back even stronger. But when we recognize and we can transmute it from wisdom, it's not going to repeat again. Like we said, like jealousy versus abundance. Any other examples you guys want to give?
Michelle says that it is because we lack of love for all beings.
Well, how about loving for ourselves? I mean,
feeling
we cannot
love,
love
feeling love for
issues
everyone.
At the core.
unhealed issues at the core.
Unhealed issues.
Can you elaborate more?
Could be anything. Any lack of love could be you were hurt as a child. Your parents neglected you.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything, almost anything, because it usually starts very young in life.
Yeah.
And it can be past life stuff that carries forward too. And these things past life things will get triggered by, you meet people from past life, you go to a place where you were once before, and then those things surface. So then that's another aspect of it. And you have to really start looking at it and hopefully recognize it, ask for help from above to help you with transforming that. I mean, you can do something like foot soaking with salt or Epsom to pull negativity out. And you keep doing that, that helps until you can get the issue actually healed enough. Because many times you have to go outside of yourself, other than going within to source, but going outside of yourself, talking to people in the community, any other help like that you talk to people who are older and wiser and get advice that way, and maybe get some support for the issue. They have support groups for almost everything, and I'm sure small communities maybe not so easy, but they have online probably. But as long as you can hopefully make some friends, or you talk, even people you just meet in passing can be a friendship of the day, of the moment, and helping you, and you're offering help to somebody else. And when you're feeling sore and you don't know how to heal yourself, a lot of times what helps is you start helping someone else.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely.
And you focus on that. You can't help yourself, but you can help other people. Often is what I found and somewhere down the line of that, all this stuff just starts like opening up and it unknots itself. And because you're focusing on love and helping someone else.
Yeah.
So it works on all of it on many levels, I think.
Thank you. It's wonderful what you said. I was reading actually today also a beautiful example of somebody who did something I think very noble. Some anonymous person donated $2.5 million to bail out all the people who were arrested in Standing Rock. We don't know who's this person, but they wired $2.5 million to bail out all these people. So there's actions you can do. It's not about violent resistance. It doesn't work this way. But the unity, which we're going to talk about, is a very important aspect of that. And unity, but also taking proactive actions. What you can do to support others, to help them.
And again, violence is not really what we're talking about. There's much more powerful tools that we can do that to remove these negativities.
And someone mentioned about the unity happened between Native Americans.
Yes.
Because of the situation. So many tribes united now. They are all together because it was kind of, they were also separated like we all are. But because of that, they all united. They all became one now,
Yeah.
fighting for that. So that's also
Rival tribes too. Yeah.
Right.
Rivals, yeah.
yeah.
Amazing, yeah.
So yeah, you can see negativity, but you can see this negativity created something amazing also.
What I see in the whole this situation for me, it's the native Indians represent for me the connection to the earth, because they are connected very much to the cycles of the earth, the wisdom of the earth, the wisdom of the nature. Even though many generations have passed since their original ancestors' connection, but there's a lot of purity and a lot of the original covenant. They, for me, they represent a lot of the covenant with the earth, and they preserve it in a very pure form. So what I see here is the really an amazing example of what we're talking about here.
They are protecting water. And
It's not just about the water. It's about connection to the earth, connection to the forces of creation. The Native Americans, they are connected to the unseen forces. They honor those forces. They abide by these forces. And then you see those greedy corporations are coming, completely disrespecting those forces, what we call those who dismiss the sacredness, dismiss the divinity, and you see the confrontation between those two.
Yeah.
And we know if we don't stop it, it's where it's going to lead us. Because what's happening in the Standing Rock is happening all over the planet. So the awakening is, first of all, when we sit, if you sit wherever you are on the planet, and you see this confrontation, look inside and see what is your level of connection, what is the level of your covenant to the sacredness of creation. Where in your life you can take that level to the next level. You can go up and you can strengthen that. This is what we're talking here about in the portion of Noach. Because Noach, he was the only person in his lifetime that maintained his covenant. He lived in a very negative environment, very negative times. And we're going to learn why the flood took place. Why not a big earthquake, for example? Why not fire? Okay? Why do you think? What is your,
why water?
Yeah, why not earthquake? Why not big fire, for example? Why not other disaster? Why water?
So first of all, we need to see what the water represents, right?
What does it represent?
I don't know.
Because it's alternate.
It's a what?
Ultimately, Earth gets destroyed by fire and water. According to the Hopi, this is the fifth world of the Hopi. So the world had to be made over by Creator 4 times already. So you're talking about Noah, that was just one of the times.
Yeah. The previous, I think before that was Atlantis, from my historical understanding, which was 12,000 years ago. So it's repeating itself. And it's about to repeat itself again. And
Sarah is saying that sometimes negativity gets too much focus and too much of our energy, and we forgot to focus on the positive. So,
well, yeah, water, from what we learn in Kabbalah, water is the biggest component of our body. 70%, 75% of our body is made of water. We also have fire element. We also have air element. We also have earth element. But water is really what sustains our bodies. And we're made mostly of water. We also spoke about last week that when we talk about the whole dynamics of creation, water was never created. It was always there.
yeah.
Water is a manifestation of the life force of creation, this reality. So water really is what holds this reality. I mean, even a baby in a mother's womb is surrounded by water. Water is mercy.
Okay.
But if this energy is not preserved properly, it becomes a very destructive force. It becomes a destruction. And why we spoke also about the contrast between fire and water, we spoke about the covenant of fire. The fire preserves the life force within us. So if we don't able to honor this life force of creation, and when fused with negativities, the water becomes very destructive. So that's kind of, the water is the destructive force of water is a reawakening within us, our connection, hopefully, with Source before it's too late. Because this is what's happening right now. Because we don't know what's going to be the tipping point. This could be one event that happens, whether it's in Standing Rock, can be other place on the planet. Things can go really, really bad. We don't know when it's going to, go really bad.
So there is timing for everything, and the reason that those things are happening right in front of our face, whether it's in social media or really in our neighborhoods or in our families, so we start to cultivate the awareness. There's something bigger. There are bigger forces here involved, and like we said earlier in a previous verse, that source gives us opportunity, gives us signs. They're going in phases, in increments.
Yeah.
They don't just bring things are not happening just overnight. It builds up. Like we know in the story of Noach, he was warning people for 120 years, and people thought he's nuts. For 120 years, he was warning them. There's a calamity is about to happen, and people were joking, laughing at him. They don't think it's real. They thought he's like a conspiracy theorist. Like a lot of people are considered like climate change conspiracy theorists. Oh, whatever you're talking about, it's nonsense. It's not happening. Right in front of our eyes, it's happening. No, it's nothing. Until the waves come and they wipe everybody out, and then it's too late. So let's continue.
What I want to put focus on that is because some people say, "Oh, it's negativity. Don't put focus on negativity." I don't see this as a fear. If something negative happen right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't see this as like judgment or fear. I see only one thing. We need to unite. You need to get united. That means that God is saying us, my children, come together.
Yeah.
What you're fighting for, come together. So this is the message for me. Even it's worst situation happenings right now in the world, for me it's like, okay, let's get together. Let's sit around the table and see what's happening, what's bothering us. Let's solve it. So because some people, it's no, it has to be for good, because the message and the purpose of creation is good. So it's not like God is punishing us. It's just like little
Reminder.
Like, come on, guys, what are you doing? Really, seriously.
Yeah, we spoke about this previously, classes. Thank you for saying that, Maya, because we understand that God is not punishment. There is no punishment from God. We know that source, it's a benevolent force. The only retribution that is happening is because of our own actions. We're going to read in the Zohar. How are we doing with the time, by the way?
It's 9:25.
9:25. Okay, so we've got to hurry up. But we really want to understand that what's happened in the story of Noach and what happens in the world, the forces of nature, we are controlling them. We are the ones who affect them. As example, take the studies of Emoto, the Japanese late scientist who proved how awareness affects water.
Right.
Okay? We can affect the water with our thoughts, with our emotions. And more so, all the different elements on this planet.
Yeah.
So cultivating the awareness that we are the creators of all the calamities, it's a good start, even though it's hard to believe in that. But let's continue. Verse number 39. וירא אלוקים את הארץ והנה נשחטה. המים נשחטה בגין כי השחית כל בשר את דרכו. כמה דאיתמר. רבי חייא פתח קרא ואמר וירא אלוקים את מעשיהם כי שבו מדרכם הרעה. תחזה בשעתה דבני נשה זכן ונטרי פיקודי דאורייתא כדין הרעה התתקפת וכל חידו השתכחת בה. מה טעמה? בגין דשכינתה שריה על הרעה וכדין קולה אילאי ותתאי בחדווה. Translation. And Elohim looked on the earth and behold it was corrupt. Why was the earth corrupt? Can it be that it deserved to be punished? And he answers, yes, because all flesh had corrupted its way, as has already been explained. Rabbi Chia opened the discussion saying, and Elohim saw from their deeds that they had repented from their evil way. Come and behold, when the people are righteous and observe the commandments of the Torah, the earth is invigorated in full joy. And why is that? Because the Shekhinah dwells upon the earth, and everyone both above and below enjoys. So what this verse is teaching us here is really the secret of how we can control this reality. When we talk about maintaining the 10 commandments of the Torah, again, the 10 commandments are not commandments, they're advices. There are 10 principles by which this reality can be preserved, how we can preserve this reality. That's one thing. The second thing is, it explains like the importance of taking actions. We're not here in this reality just be in the world of ideas and concepts. We have to take certain actions that will maintain our peace, but also the peace of others. And that's why when we see things in front of our eyes and we take action, we send a ripple effect to other places of the earth. So that's very, very important. You want to say something, man?
No. Just said yes.
Yeah, so it's very important to remember that. Now, the idea of the Shekhinah, so I'm sure a lot of you heard this word before. Shekhinah comes from the Hebrew lishkon, to dwell. So when we preserve our connection to this planet and our relationship with the people, the other dwellers of this planet, the Shekhinah, which
it's a female aspect, right? Shekhinah, right?
Yeah, it's not about gender.
Yeah, but
Shekhinah comes from the word lishkon. It's basically, it's a female aspect, but it's a dwelling of peace and wholeness in this planet. There is the forces of destruction are subdued. So it has to do with our actions, what actions we take. So, for example, it's a great example, a very wealthy billionaire in Brazil. He saw what's going on with the rainforest. So what he did, he bought, I don't know, like big land of a lot of acres to stop it from being destroyed, because what they do, they destroy those forests for cattle.
Like 4,000.
I don't know,
huge.
And also even Morgan Freeman, the actor, he bought like 130 acres of land to raise bees, to protect the bees.
Right.
So these are great examples of people who are actually taking actions.
And the other one made a sanctuary to save animals.
Huh?
I forgot his name, the other actor.
Yeah,
they became vegan, and his and his wife, they bought huge land.
Yeah, the TV person,
and
I forgot his name.
actually have animals.
John Stewart, I think his name.
Right. They have
bought
a sanctuary.
Animal sanctuary, they're saving animals. So what I'm talking about, we need to take actions.
Total transformation they made.
Whatever actions you can take. My wife and I, we had a neighbor who was abusing the dog, and we already have 3 dogs. And we saw that in front of our eyes for a long time. And eventually, we took some actions and we adopted the dog. Now we have 4 dogs. It's a small example, but it was right in front of our eyes, like right across the fence from where we live. We took an action. We brought the dog in, and now we protected. Now we saved the dog. So
she was such a vicious dog, and now she became an angel. She turned to angel.
It's a great example, because each and every one of us here watching this video, you can take some action, even if it's small action. So the point is, you can do something. Don't look just on the big picture.
Yeah.
What the president can do for you is what you can do in your personal reality, because that's how you affect the world en masse. You send ripple effects. Right. Maybe by the action you take, you affect 10,000 other people who can do the same action. Then it becomes en masse.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. Verse number 56. רבי יצחק הווה שכיח קמי דרבי שמעון אמר לו, היי קרא דכתיב ותשחט הארץ לפני אלוקים. אי בני נשה חתן ארעה במה אמר לו, בגין דכתיב כי השחית כל בשר את דרכו, כמה דהתמר כגבנה דה, ותטמא הארץ ואפקוד עוונה עליה. אלא בני נשה חתן ואי תימה ארעה במה, אלא יקרא דארעה בני נשה אינון, ואינון מחבלין ארעה, והיא התחבלת וקרא הוכח, דכתיב וירא אלוקים את הארץ, והנה נשחטה כי השחית כל בשר את דרכו על הארץ. Translation. Rabbi Yitzchak was visiting Rabbi Shimon, and he asked him about the verse that states, and the earth was corrupt before Elohim. Now, if it was man who sinned and was corrupt, what was the earth sin? What was the fault of the earth? What the earth did wrong that it was such bad things happen? Rabbi Shimon answered, as it is written, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth, and the land was defiled. Therefore, I do punish its iniquity upon it. So it is mankind that performs the transgressions. But if you ask, what is the transgression of the earth itself? You should know that mankind constitutes the essence of the earth. If mankind corrupts it, it becomes corrupted. This is proven by the verse, and Elohim looked on the earth and beheld it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. So what the Zohar is teaching us, that everything that happens on this planet, whether it's an earthquake, any natural disaster we call, or force majeure, we are the cause of it. We. And as an opposite example, I witnessed myself in situations that we were in a holiday somewhere. The Kabbalists gathered together, and there was a big tornado was approaching. And we did a prayer together. In Miami. We did a prayer, and they used Kabbalistic tools and meditation prayer and the Zohar to stop. And we could see, I wasn't in this particular, but one of the students was sharing that they saw the tornado coming and it was leaving as they were praying.
Yeah, it's turned back.
It just turned back. It turned away. So we are causing those things.
And we can do, better or worse.
We can do better or worse. So what the story is clearly saying is, what is the fault of the earth? We're the one who's affecting it. The earth is one organism. We cannot separate humans outside of the entire system of this planet. It's like you say, we have a body. My finger is declaring sovereignty. This finger is separate. It's not part of the body. So if God forbid, if there's an infection in the finger and it starts to spread inside the body, it will affect the entire body unless we stop it from the beginning. Yeah. So the entire body is actually sending white blood cells to repair the damage, to build the tissues, etc. So the body have a full awareness of all its parts. And humans, even more so, we should cultivate this awareness. So the Zohar is really reminding us that we are responsible. So the flood that we're talking about, the story of Noach, who created the flood? Humans created the flood. It's not happening from outside. So when we say that Elohim punished, Elohim represents the forces of nature. It's not that God is punishing us. When we talk about Elohim in the Zohar, Elohim represents the forces of nature. And we are the rulers of the forces of nature, humans. We're in charge.
I think it's so much negativity and the darkness of that creates that.
Yeah.
All that heavy, it gets heavy, dense, very dark. And people play into it.
Yeah, we affected.
And they don't. There's like it's like some people that they feel powerful when they have this darkness present.
They do. They connect to power. They do connect to power. It's true, because witchcraft is real and it works. But the price people pay after that is very, very bad. It's always there's a very high price to pay after that, because that's the whole point that we're going to discuss soon about the story of the Tower of Babel, which also have to do with like using shortcuts, because what they experience immediately, it's a very fast payoff, but the payback later on it's bad, because other people have to pay for it too.
It's thousands of years.
Yeah.
You need to be careful about making generalizations. Like, for example, what is witchcraft? What do you mean by that?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Witchcraft is basically using. Kabbalah defines witchcraft is when you summon entities, energetic beings, to harm others. That's witchcraft. So
but Wicca is the worship of the goddess.
What?
Wicca.
I'm not talking about worship. I'm saying summoning negative forces to harm others. That's what I'm talking about. Witchcraft.
Wicca is also the female aspect of recognizing a deity as feminine.
Yes.
That's originally where the Wicca tradition came from.
Okay.
So witchcraft, really, you might want to rephrase that and just say misuse of energy.
I'm saying harming others. That's what I'm saying. Witchcraft is harming other people.
No.
Very simple.
No.
Well, that's the definition according to the Zohar. I'm not inventing it. So I'm not.
Some people using witchcraft for some other
I'm talking about the definition of the Zohar of witchcraft is using power to harm others and to benefit only for selfish desires. That's
so it's good to have a definition, like you said, because some people, like you said, like what do you mean witchcraft?
I'm talking about negative use of
it's
power.
Good to put
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about using prayers or meditations to connect to energy. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about using energies for selfish desires and to harm others. Very simple. That's the only definition I'm talking about.
You don't mean, you're not implying even the Wiccan religion.
No. I'm talking about using forces of sorcery. Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
People associate Wicca with witchcraft.
That's not what I said. Okay, I'm translating in Hebrew. So let's use the word sorcery, or there's another word, sorcery, or I forgot the word, but sorcery. Okay, in a negative aspect. Okay.
Yeah.
So the other
This
thing
is the thing when you translate from Hebrew to
Yes,
English, it's
exactly.
sometimes not always working well.
Yeah.
This is happening to us, but thank you for that you focus on that.
So really, it's this verse is a beautiful reminder for ourselves how we are becoming accountable for our environment with our conscious, not just by what we eat, whether we recycle the
Black
plastic.
magic.
Huh?
What?
Black
Patricia's
magic.
black magic.
magic.
Yeah, it's more kind of
Yeah, that's
the more
perfect.
resonate with that black
great,
magic.
great example. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really
Thank
about
you.
accountability, not just about whether we recycle this product or we are buying fair trade or eating organic, etc. But also have to do with the thoughts that we emanate. It affects the body and the water. We know that inflammation in the body it results for certain negative energies, negative emotions. So this is what we're talking about. Even we're talking on a major scale how we affect this entire planet. Okay, so let's continue. Does it make sense more now what I was saying? It's not about Wicca tradition. I wasn't referring to that. I didn't even know what it is.
I had no idea about it.
I had no idea. So
In
Wicca
modern-
people, I didn't know to.
Sorry.
Wasn't my intention. Okay. Black magic that was referred. Okay, so let's go to verse number 113. Okay. ואי תימה נוח ודאימי סתים מעיינה הווה דלה יתחזי ועל דא כל מה דהשתכח בעלמה שצי לי ועל דא ואדוני בהתגליה ולה שצי קולה אלוקים באי סתימו ובאי להסתמרה דה קולה שצי ועל דא אלוקים בלכודוי הווה. Translation. And although you may say that Noach and those who were with him at the ark were saved and not all were destroyed, it is only because they were hidden from sight and unseen by the angel of destruction. Thus, it is considered that everything, namely everything that was seen by the eyes of the angel of destruction that existed in the world, was destroyed. That is why the term and Hashem, or the source creator, indicates that he does not destroy. Source does not destroy all that is revealed to the eye, as it is in the case of the destruction of Sodom, like Sodom and Gomorrah. However, the term Elohim indicates that all should be carefully concealed, because he destroys everything, namely all that is revealed to the eye. That is why the term Elohim refers to the female principle alone, without Zeir Anpin, who is mercy. And when we talk about female, it's not about gender. We talk about the physical reality. We know that physical reality terms in the term of female, and the source are males and male, not gender. One is the vessel, one is the light that fills the vessel. Now, we also know that source does not destroy. We have forces that are ruling the physical reality. And we are those that affect those forces. It's our interaction between them. That's when we talk about term of a covenant, when we maintain covenant with the source, we can rule this reality. But when we cut ourselves off this connection, we become subdued to the forces of nature. Okay? Now, the other thing that the Zohar talks about is about the importance of concealment. It says that Noach was concealed in the ark. It talks about the importance as why it's important to do certain things in public, why it's important to do certain things in concealment. Like the idea of concealment is it's about how we, let's say you want to do something, an important project, especially now in wherever you're working on right now. There's a process. You need to understand that there's forces in this reality, unseen forces. They can be positive, they can be not very positive. But when you develop something, you want to make sure that it's concealed until a certain point when it's ready to be revealed. Like a seed is concealed for the entire period of time until it sprouts. It cannot sprout in the thin air. That's why it's concealed in the earth. The same thing with the baby. It's concealed within the mother's womb. So the concealment is a very important aspect of understanding how we can work with the forces in the physical reality. It's part of the design of this reality. Does it make sense? So, also, it talks about the importance of the desire of us, because we all have certain ego as human beings. We want to be acknowledged. It's part of who we are. But there is a desire to be known, which can be very positive and can be also very destructive. So what the Zohar is teaching us, if we have a desire to be known for a good cause, it's not a bad thing. Like, let's say if you want to spread some information, some wisdom, some teachings that will help people to grow, to be healthy, to be wiser, it's great to be known for that cause. Like Tony Robbins, for example, is a great example. He's super famous, but he's a very humble person. It's not about him, like his face appearing in the magazines. It's about him really serving humanity. He's a great example. He's someone I really appreciate and respect, because he's very well known, and people from country leaders, they bring him, like big corporations bring him to train their people. He's very known, but it's not to glorify himself. But if you have
He's empowering people.
He's empowering, but he's coming from a very pure place. But if you take another negative example, I don't want to say names, but there's certain people on this planet that they're just want to be famous, so people know who they are. That's what really causes them. So, like we know, law of attraction, your wish is your command. So these people become known, but they are become known, but not very positive reasons. First of all, as a result, they're also known by negative forces. That's why a lot of people become celebrities, because they just want to be famous. They get destroyed very fast because they become known, but the price they pay is also very high. So the concealment is an important aspect to remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's continue.
20 more minutes.
20 more minutes. Okay. Verse 335. אוקיי. תחזי, ויהי כל הארץ שפה אחת וגומר, לבטר מה כתיב, ויהי בנוסעה מקדם, מההוא קדמאה דעלמה, וימצאו בקעה בארץ שנער, דהה מתאמן, מתפרשן, לכל עינון סיטרין, ואיהו רש מלכו להתבדרה. Translation. Come behold, observe what was seen written, and the whole earth was of one language. And of one speech. What is written next? And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, for they removed themselves from the originator of this world. In other words, they drew down the illumination of the left, which the originator of the world had forbidden them to do. Therefore, the passage continues, they found a plain in the land of Shinar. It's a place, it's a geographical place, from where judgment spread out in all directions. This is the beginning of Malchut's separation from the holiness. Malchut, when you talk about Malchut, is the world of physicality. It is described by the phrase, you are this head of gold, because Elohim was made the one as well as the other. In the klipot, when you talk about klipot, these are the negative shells, or the forces of negativity in this reality. There are also four aspects, Chokhmah, Binah, Tiferet, and Malchut. And the Klippa of Babylon is Chokhmah of the Klippa. Hence, it is the head of all the Klipot. Now, the story of Babel is a very, very powerful story, because it happened after the flood. And they will know that Noach also survived this generation, because he maintained his connection. But what we learn here, that the story of Babylon is a great, it's not a very positive example, but to learn from, that these were very powerful people who used their power to get shortcuts, and they used the power of divination. That's the word I wanted to use before, divination and sorcery. They used that because they wanted to rise above other people. Until this event happened, there was one language that was used on this earth, and what happened as a result, the word Babel comes from the word levalbel, means confusion. That's why the language was confused. It's called Bavelit Balbel. Their language was confused. They could not use the powers of divination and sorcery. That's why their agenda was destroyed. But also, it talks about the negative aspect of unity. The Zohar is teaching us that any group of people that are united for one cause, even if it's a negative cause, the unity creates power.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they brought up also negativity upon themselves, because they abused power in a certain way that brought the dissolution of their unity. But what it gives us is the reminder that we can use unity to become powerful. If we have a goal that we work together in unity, we can achieve goodness in this reality.
But that requires for us to take action.
Yeah.
Let's continue. We have a couple of more. 181.
Now we need a unity to create a place for study Zohar, because this place is going to close in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we need to get united together, and I'm also
Say prayer
talking.
together.
Hmm?
To say prayer
Yes,
together. It
and
actually works.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking to maybe we can get this place, because this place going before rent.
Yeah.
So I'm working on it
Okay. Wonderful.
to have also continue study and have maybe some chocolate place here.
Mhm.
Chocolate.
בוא נמשיך עם
Does
ה-
it have a kitchen?
Let's continue.
No.
בוא נמשיך, okay? Thank you. דכיוון דאמר 181. דכיוון דאמר לי קודשא בריחו דשזיב לי בטיבותה. דכתיב ואני הנני מביא את המבול מים וגומר, וכתיב ומחיתי את כל היקום אשר עשיתי מעל פני האדמה, ואני הנני מקים את בריתי וגומר, ובאת אל התיבה כיוון דאמר לי דאשתזיב הוא ובנוי, לה בעל רחמין על עלמה, והתאבידו ובגין כך יקרון מי המבול על שמי, כדע כי מי נוח זאת לי אשר נשבעתי מעבור מי נוח. Translation. Noach did not plead for mercy on behalf of the world, and they all perished, because of the Holy One, blessed be He, had told him that he and his children would be saved by the ark. As the verse states, and behold, I will bring a flood waters, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And as for me, behold, I establish my covenant, and come you into the ark, because Noach did not plead for them. The flood waters are named after him, as it is written, for this is the waters of Noach to me, as I have sworn that the waters of Noach should no more go over the earth. Now this verse is very important because it gives us example that Noach could actually do more. What's the message behind? We know about three very powerful leaders that lived on the planet: Noach, Abraham, and Moses. And they again, they're code names, but they are giving us a very important lesson. Noach knew that there was a disaster coming for the earth, and he did what he could to warn the people. But when Source gave him the information that it's going to be destroyed, he could actually pray, or he said to Source, please don't do that. Please
like
stop
Moses
that.
said.
I'm getting to that. I'm going
Okay.
there. Yeah. So that's one example. The second example is Abraham. Abraham was in the city of Sodom, and he knew that there was a very big calamity is coming for this place. So he was talking to Source, and he said, "Listen, what happens if we have a few righteous people in this place? Will you stop this calamity?" He said, "Yeah." So find 10 people. He couldn't find, and then he said, "Okay, I couldn't find," and then Source, okay, that's going to happen, and he didn't plead for the people. Now Moses was the highest level of actually accountability, because he knew that there might be a big calamity coming, and a Source told him, "Okay, I'm going to wipe this generation of the planet." He said, "No, if you wipe them out, you wiped me from your book." So he did not agree with the decree,
So that's
which means, let's say any of you have some kind of very deep insight into certain events that might happen on the planet. Maybe you're a prophet, maybe you're a visionary, maybe you see things from the future that other people don't see. But you can stop it. You can stop it. If you plead for the people, you're doing a great service for humanity. Whether if maybe you see something that might happen in your own environment, it's not just about the action you take, but actually you plead for humans, for some kind of a positive outcome. You don't just accept the verdict, so to speak. And Moses was known to argue with us all the time, which is a great thing to do, if it's good for a positive reason. So if you see a judgment might hover over a certain place, you can stop it if you establish a connection to Source. You can actually do a lot by that, by praying, by meditating for humanity, by doing this kind of action, which is very important.
That's very important, that it gives us, the Zohar gives us actually certain choices we have in life. Either we say surround, okay,
Surrender.
Surrender. If you get this, like people say, oh, God said, God decided. But we have the example of Moses that said, no, I don't agree.
Exactly.
So we bring in, the historian brings to us all the choices we have. It's not like one choice. We have. It depends who you connect to.
Exactly. And also, it's a reminder. Thank you, Maya. But it's also remember that it makes us ask question how committed we are for humanity.
Yeah.
It's our
Exactly.
commitment.
Yeah.
Our commitment. It's really how are we willing to go out of our comfort zone? Like we said, Noach means comfortable in Hebrew. Means
Yes,
comfortable.
Noach, comfortable.
Noach was very comfortable in his ark. I
Right.
mean, he did what he did. He was warning people, but eventually he said, I cannot do anything. I'm just going to my ark, and I'm going to be safe with my family. He did not go out of his comfort zone. But Moses, the message of Moses, you can go out of your comfort zone if you really care about people. It's about how much you really care about humanity. We're not here just for ourselves.
And he didn't care about himself, obviously. I mean, not. He said, he kind of. How can say, ביטל את עצמו.
Did not
ביטל.
cancel or did not sacrifice himself.
No sacrifice.
No,
is
sacrifice
not
the right
no.
word. It's eliminate himself. Not eliminate. I don't know the word
Yeah,
right
he
now.
said, erase me from the book of.
He was willing to say. He said to God, "Listen, if you do this, erase me. I don't want to be involved in this creation." But Moses had a role here to play, and that's why even his voice was so important because saw how much he cares for people. It's really the most important thing is how much are we accountable for humanity, even if we live in the most corrupt society, and we might see in our vision that big calamity might come, and we pray, we ask, please, let's give a chance. Let's do something. Don't accept the verdict. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I think some of it, he put his life on the line
Yes, that's
by
Yeah.
challenging God.
Yeah.
He knew he could be destroyed in an instant,
Right.
Yeah.
and he still did it.
Yeah.
So that much love that he had
Yes.
for
Yeah.
humanity at that point.
But also he knew that he's also had a role to play. It's not like he knew that it's not like he thought that you will be eliminated. If you know that you're aligned, because this is something I'm going to talk before we close the class. How do you know that you have that inner connection to source? You just know it, because it's not about you. It's not about your outside appearance. It's not about how much money you have in the bank or how much prestige you have in society. There's an intimate connection that you know when you have it, and when you have this, you can talk to source in the most. You can argue, and source wants you to argue because he gave you the power and he gave you accountability. He wants you, but he cannot force it on you. So the first question is again, what can we do in our environment to plea for others, and taking actions, of course.
I think group prayer is very powerful.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I've done prayers where I had many years ago, I asked God to speak to on every level of their consciousness, their guardian angels, talk to them, all of that, to talk to all the multi-millionaires that were here, to hand over some money. They're sitting on all this money they don't need. They really don't. It's even if they'll still make money, and I asked them to start handing over money for causes and for things that are needed.
Yeah.
And like within 2 days, I saw all this stuff on the news about all these big millionaires making all these donations all of a sudden. So I'm going,
So you see,
I got validation. And
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
never talked
Sure.
about this before. I don't want to be an ego, but I want you to understand and
It's powerful.
that if you do say the prayers and you ask, especially because it's a selfless act.
yes,
Yeah.
A selfless act is very powerful.
Yeah.
And you literally can move mountains. That
Yes.
expression.
Yeah.
There is literally power in that.
Yeah.
And you can stop, like you talked about with the tornado, the negative forces
Yeah.
that are harming.
Mhm.
There's people working on the radiation with Fukushima
Yes.
and getting somewhere with this. There's a lot more that can be
Yeah.
done if people just consciously, in a group, people, when they talk with, pray with Jesus, 2 or more in his name. And it's very powerful. It does work also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He is, because you, of course, would understand, he is of the lineage. He's not just what the modern Christians think of.
Mhm.
This is a very powerful being who is telling all of us, go within.
Mm-hmm.
That was that main message.
Thank you.
Connect within that way.
Yeah.
And it works, I tell you,
Yes,
and
it works,
I don't
yeah.
say it too much, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
remember it, tell people it
Yes.
works.
Yes.
Yep.
You
Sure.
will You
Sure.
can affect these changes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's
Speaking of
exponential.
lineage,
It is exponential.
yes.
That's one of the important things. It
Thank you.
really is.
Thank you. Saying the word exponent. Thank you, Cindy. It's very powerful what you said because the lineage is what I'm going to read the next verse. It's very it's a great that you mentioned that. Thank you for the insight. I appreciate it. Thank you. 295. We have a couple more to go before in the class.
5 minutes.
No, five
Five
minutes.
more
We started
minutes.
late, so we're gonna go a little bit few
Yeah.
minutes after that because we had this internet
that's-
connection problem. 295. Yeah. רבי שמעון אמר, אילו הבנה שכיח בעלמא, כד יהב קודשא בריחו ספרה דחנוך בעלמא וספרה דאדם, התקיפנה דלה השתכחון בעיני אנשה, בגין דלה חיישו כל חכמן להסתכלה בהו, וטען במילין אחרנין, להפקה מרשו הילאה לרשו אחרה, והשתה חכימי עלמא ידעין מילין וסתמין לון ומתתקפה בפולחנה דמעריהון. Translation. Rabbi Shimon said, had I been alive when the Holy One, blessed be He, gave people the books of Enoch and Adam, I would have tried my best to prevent them from circulating among the people. For at that time, wise men were not afraid to look into them. They twisted the book's ideas and took them from supernal dominion of holiness to another dominion, which is not holy. Now, however, the wise of the world know things but conceal them. That is, they do not reveal the secrets, and they strengthen themselves in serving their master. That is why now it is allowed to delve into the secrets of the Torah. This is a very powerful verse that it talks about one of the reasons that those negative forces were so effective in those days, because they used power of divination using holy tools to bring destruction. Like we said, that when those tools are very powerful, they use for selfish reasons, they bring results. But the disasters that they bring as a result can be very, very severe. That's why Rabbi Shimon spoke about two very powerful books. One is called the Book of Adam, Sefer Adam, and also the Book of Chanoch, which conceal a lot of secrets. And there's many other books. There's the Book of Raziel Malach and many other books. And those books conceal very powerful secrets, how to control forces of nature, etc., etc. And the reason all the secrets are revealed today is for one purpose, is to allow us to really take the path of creation and not of destruction. And the reason is becoming more prominent now because of the forces of destruction becoming also very stronger. But know that where there is the danger, but also have the remedy that precedes the illness or the remedy. And that's why the wisdom of the Zohar that we have right now gives us the power to overcome the negativity. So the more of us are utilizing the power of the Zohar, because it was created for this exact purpose, to remove negativity from the world. So we're very fortunate that right now we have all over the internet, you have access for the Zohar. You can purchase the books, and you can actually use this wisdom to remove negativity from the world. And what's happening again in Standing Rock, it's a very alarming example. But I was saying that in previous video that if people there, and I personally work on raising money through selling some of my art, so I can actually go there and I want to ship their Zohar books and go there and teach this wisdom to people, to share what I can, to do my share. So this is part of the reason I want to use this technology, so we can bring positive outcome to the situation. Because we don't want to go sour, to go in a negative way. So
you mentioned that the negativity is growing and becoming stronger and stronger than this now. So what's the reason of that?
The reason because a lot of light is going to be revealed. So we know that before the sunrise is the darkest time of the night. So that's what
important to mention that.
Thank you. It's very important to mention because we
Yes.
know that the light is about to be revealed, very tremendous light. So the forces of darkness are kind of holding to their last,
The last
whatever
chaos.
is left, the last chaos they can create. But we're lucky that we have the antivirus software. It's very effective antivirus for a software called Zohar. And mentioned the lineage. You spoke about the lineage that this is all part of the lineage. The teaching of the Zohar is part of a very, very long lineage of light workers on this planet. It was given to us as a way to maintain the precious creation that we are here on this planet.
Integrity.
Maintain the integrity, maintaining the brit, the covenant. This is the covenant we're talking about, okay? And the Zohar is not, remember, it's not a book of information. It's not intellectual study. The Zohar is energetic. It's an energetic storehouse. It's powerful. So by scan, it's a tool, and it was designed, like we said, abracadabra. I create what I speak, and the essence of this book is to remove darkness. So the more of us we use that, the faster we remove negativity. So I'm really focused on Standing Rock because for me it's something like really triggered in me. Like there's something like I saw that like it's very it's like a time bomb. So something have to be done there. So I truly personally hope that I can bring there the Zohars and to spread Zohars there and to do some teachings from there to do something because it's happening all over the planet. But here in America, I think this is like it's a ticking time bomb right now. Yeah. So let's see what else. So let's I have one more verse. Actually, there's more, but we don't have a lot of time. Actually, we do have time. We started late, so let's continue. Whoever wants to stay, you're welcome. 377.
Extra mile, like Scorpio style, right?
Yeah. Well, nobody's forced to stay with us, so whoever wants to stay, you're welcome. And of course, I have a couple more things I want to share. Very important about the ark. There's secrets about the ark.
Yes.
So, okay, 377. תחזה בגין זהירות דחוכמתה דאשכחו אילן מההוא חוכמה דקדמאי התגרו בי בקודשא בריחו ובנו מגדל ועבדו כל מה דעבדו עד דהתבדרו מענפי ארעה ולא השתער בהו חוכמה למעבד מדי. Come and behold, because of the part of the wisdom that the generation of the Tower of Babylon received from their forefathers, they provoked the Holy One, blessed be He, and built the tower. They persisted until they were scattered all over the face of the earth, lost their wisdom, and could accomplish nothing. So this verse talks about one thing, a very negative thing, which is about the desire to achieve shortcuts. The reason people use divination, sorcery, and witchcraft, it's a
black magic.
Black magic. Sorry.
Why do you use divination in this context? Divination is just the ability to contact your own intuitive ability.
I'm sorry, so it's the wrong word. I am using translation. I'm sorry, it's my Hebrew. Sorcery, black magic. Okay.
Yeah, black magic.
I'm sorry, it's the wrong word. Yeah.
Thank you for
the desire
balancing the.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you are pointing out the words because I'm thinking in Hebrew sometimes. So the translation get lost in translation. So the desire for shortcuts is what causes people to perform certain negative aspects of black magic, etc. And that's what was the driving force behind building Tower of Babylon. Now, the thing we learn here that we cannot outsmart the system, even though there's tools to use this black magic or that black magic. There is a certain order, and even though the short-term rewards may be fast, but the long term it's not working for the long term. Okay, so that's one thing. Also, the other thing that we learn here that the people that built the Tower of Babylon, also on a symbolic level, they wanted to rise themselves above the other people. So when you separate yourself, it's already you creating a negativity. That's one thing. The other thing is they were connecting to what we call in Kabbalah or Yashar, direct light, because they created a certain kind of conduit to connect to higher forces. So we know that there's different forms of using, for example, certain substances, using certain rituals in a negative way that can reveal a lot of direct light. But it creates, we know that the most important principle in the spirituality is to establish restriction. So you create returning light. That's how you build a vessel. In other words, you don't receive the reward immediately, you make an effort towards it. So it's not something you try to make a shortcut for it. Nevertheless, we want to make the process in this.
Ego in the way.
There's a lot of ego.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, ego.
And just
Negative ego, because there's good ego too.
No, I don't mean it that way. I mean ego in the sense of ego is fear at the cause of ego, and with all of that, they want to control.
Yeah, exactly.
And
control.
They want
ego.
power over instead of power to. It's supposed to be power to, not power over.
Yeah, exactly. So we what we are learning from the Zohar is that restriction and sharing are essential for spiritual success, because using like again black magic and those shortcuts are success for the short term, but not for the long term, because it includes only a small group of people that, from an egotistic reasons, want to achieve that power or the other power. So that's
But I
what
think these days, these people who are using or used to use, I would say, used to use black magic, they understand it's coming back. It's like whatever you send is going to come back to you. But I think they already understand that
well, I don't know if they understand.
why they
I'm
even
not
need
sure.
to do that.
They're
Because
not based in love.
They're not. No.
None of that was love. They do not have that in their hearts. They're not in their hearts in that sense. Their concern was not for all of humanity or the planet. It was for power.
Yeah.
And that,
Power over others.
Others.
Yeah, over
So
select group
they
of
don't
people.
care to
To
being
control.
destroyed because we know that what you sent, it's coming back to you.
Well, I don't know if
So
they know
maybe
that.
they don't care
they
that
didn't know that because their experience is they want to control, and the more they're in that ego of control, the more they want to be. They're getting a reward for it.
Yeah.
In that sense.
So what we want to awaken here is to ask ourselves the question: is where in our lives do we look for the shortcuts? Of course, it always comes back to us. We want to see where in our lives we look for the shortcuts, and where we want to avoid the effort in our own lives. So this is like something for us to kind of contemplate, because we all want to earn something, we want to achieve something, but the shortcuts are not always the best way to go. And this is like the Tower of Babylon. That's kind of the lesson for us, where we can see in our life that kind of shortcut we want to create.
It can be a big creamy not ice cream, big creamy cake that it's very tasty right now, but the sugar and all this what's going to create to my body, it's going to be destructive. But sometimes, boo, I want it now.
Yeah.
Not me, I'm doing this, thanks God, anymore.
But
I used to do this before,
Yeah.
in the past. I see something tasty without even thinking what's going to do later to my body. A week later, month, year later. Yeah, there is a big cake with lots of sugar and creams, and I would eat. And then I would pay the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple, it's food. But I'm really connected to that because food, you get immediate reward. It's tasty.
Yeah.
So we had great, amazing ice cream right now. But it's healthy ice cream. There is no refined sugar. There is no dairy. So it's kind of conscious pleasure.
Thank you. So let's say we have last one verse, and then I want to just kind of close a couple of things. Okay, verse number 386. ומה בגין תהבו בראותה וליבה חד, וממללי בלשון הקודש כתיב, לא ייבצר מהם כל אשר יזמו לעשות, ודינה דלעילה, לה יכיל לשלטאה בהו. ענן או חבריה, דמתעסקין באורייתה, וענן בליבה חד, ורעותה חד, על אחת כמה וכמה. So let's read the translation here. And if they, because they were of the heart and one desire, all spoke the holy language, it is written, nothing that they have planned to do will be withheld from them, and they will not be subject to the supernal judgment. For us and the friends who occupy themselves with the Torah and are of one heart and one desire, this will be all the more true. For nothing that we want will be withheld from us. This is extremely important lesson here from the Zohar, that first of all is the power of unity. Whether people are united for a positive cause or negative cause, the unity itself is very powerful. Like if you look at negative examples, like if you see like, for example, the lobbying of certain big pharma companies or banking systems or any other forces that are only benefiting a small group of people, they're very powerful. Why? Because the power of unity. So even if it's for a negative cause, they achieve what they want. But even more so what the Zohar says, when we're united for a positive goal. Because a lot of people on this planet are very good people. But there's a lack of unity, because if we're more united, we could achieve more positive outcomes in a more evident way. But what we see, what we experience, there's more of the negativity because they are more united. So the unity is really the secret, is to unite and to work together. That's one thing. Now, also, we want to understand it's about, it's also the thing about the attribute of unity is how do we know we cultivate the aspect of unity? When we can feel the pain of others, when we can see the suffering of others. That's one thing. Like when you see, for example,
on a personal level, I really feel the pain of the native Indians in what's going on in Standing Rock. There was one video that I saw of this native Indian speaking that really made my heart like really tremble. He was speaking with so much conviction and pain. I could really feel. That's why I was called. I want to do something about it. Whether it's the Zohar or anybody can do something about it.
I don't know why, but it reminds me of Holocaust. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
It's not even looks
the
like
dogs and the weapons.
something.
Yeah.
You know why?
Like the
they
Holocaust,
arrested some lady. I just saw a video today. They arrested some lady and she been released. You know what they did? They put number on her arm.
They put a number on
Number. I have chills in my
That's
body.
crazy.
All women, they gather in one place, just protesters, and she was crying, and she said, "You just numbered them
They put numbers on them.
like that."
Yeah. So
And I,
it's
in
a
that
it
moment,
is
I
a
was like, "This
Holocaust,
is it's like," I start crying. I couldn't stand that. Number.
Is it Standing Rock?
yeah.
Yes.
And they have snipers and there's like all
She
kind
just
of
been arrested
crazy
for
stuff
one
going on.
night. She been released already.
This is the third wounded knee. As well. It is a Holocaust.
Yeah, so it is a Holocaust. So the thing is, like, even the times of the Holocaust in the Second World War, how many people could they saw what was going on, but they did nothing, and eventually they got also affected some way. They did nothing.
All the countries of the world, all the governments of the world.
Well, some did
Yeah.
something. Some people, some countries, they were involved, but some of them they just didn't think it concerns them. You know.
All the countries of the world closed their doors.
Yes.
So this is the power. The power of unity is like when you see the pain and suffering of others, but also the power of unity is also when you see the goodness in others, and you are happy for others. This is also part of the unity. Okay, but what we want to also talk about, we spoke here about the power of language. Is like we know that this language is very powerful. Like in the case of the Tower of Babylon, they use negative way the words and the technology of these prayers to bring destructive results. But we are learning from the Zohar to use the power of the Zohar to bring positive words. So this language is very powerful. So we are really encouraged to use that. So just before we close, I want to just go something really quickly because it's very important. I want to talk about the secret of the ark just quickly before we close. So I'm sorry we extend a bit, but this is very, very important.
Yep. It's
You
an
know,
important month.
it's a very important month, and I spoke before that the ark not to be taken literally. It's not a literal ark, okay? Whether it's historically Noach and the ark, it happened. It's less of importance.
So what this represents, the ark?
I want to explain. So the ark talks about. First of all, there were 3 stories that it talks in the Zohar, in the Torah about the ark. But the Zohar explains the secrets of the stories.
Okay.
So we know there's the first story, which dwelt the humans. There was the second story where dwell the animals. And the third one, it's where all the garbage was, where all the refuse.
So the humans were in the third store, and then the second one, animals, and the garbage was in the first store. So
In
you
the
need to change
third,
the numbers.
the garbage was in the third. The first one is in the top, not in the bottom.
Okay.
We're going from top to bottom.
Okay.
So what is this? What does that represent for us? Now, the Zohar talks about in terms of it gives us dimensions for the ark. It talks about the length of the ark. Talks about the width of the ark. It talks about the height of the ark. Now, the length is in Hebrew the gova. The width is the rochav. And the height is the gova. Is the orch. I'm sorry. That's the gova. Now, each one of those represents a certain attribute. Now, the length of the ark, it represents wisdom. In Hebrew, chokhmah. Okay. The second, the width represents chasadim. And the third one, the height, it represents the combination of these two together into our reality. So what? So the ark really, the secret of
What
the
is
ark.
chasadim on Hebrew?
Chasadim means mercy, forces of mercy.
And third, okay.
The third one, it means combination of the two. This is 1, 2, so 1 plus 2 together. So the ark, as we see here, is not to be taken literally. The ark represents our vessel in this reality. We can see a lot of things happening around us. Each and every one of us is taught to be like Noach in the ark. The ark represents what vessel we hold, which is a result of our connection of covenant with Source. We understand why we are in this reality, and maybe we may not see things outside what we want to see, but nevertheless, in a very stubborn and persistent way, we maintain our connection. So you may live in an environment where there's a lot of idol worship. People worship idols. They worship this deity, they worship other deity. Maybe you live in the environment where there's very negative sexual energy. Maybe you live in an environment there's sexual abuse, many different things. But what we're here to awaken is your connection. Nevertheless, what you see outside, you maintain the connection. And the maintain the connection starts with the connection to wisdom. In Hebrew, it's called Lev Netivot Chochmah, 32 paths of wisdom, which is Lev means the heart. So you connected to wisdom, but it's not intellectual wisdom. It's a wisdom with a feeling. When we talk about the sense of unity in the world, is you feel the pain of humanity in your heart. It's not something intellectual. You feel it. And then when we talk about the combination of the two, is what actions you take in this reality to make it happen, to manifest. And again, it can be the most small actions. But really the biggest wisdom of the story of Noach is that there's the Noach in each and every one of you. Yes. And what it means, staying in your comfort zone, especially in the month of Scorpio. You don't want to be in your comfort zone because the universe might
It's time of action.
It is a time of action. So recognize the Noach within you. The ark is your covenant.
Where you're comfortable, where you don't.
See where you're comfortable and where you can take some actions. Maybe you're avoiding. You see something running in front of your eyes.
But you're comfortable. You don't want.
You're comfortable because you feel you're good. You're in your ark. You're protected.
Yes.
You know, screw humanity. They're in their whatever calamity they're going through. This is not the right way to be, because eventually it will. Today we're not in the time to separate ourselves because everything is right now revealed. So there is action that each and every one of us can take right now, not to avoid those actions.
Yes. You took action. You designed beautiful poster for them.
I did a poster. Yeah.
Yeah, you used your skills to do something.
Thank you. Yeah, and also what I want to say here, like when you talk about the 3 levels of the ark, is we want to maintain our most important as humans, our connection to Source, remembering what is our purpose. The second one, that we can control our animal self. Okay, that's what the second level of the animals. The third one is the refuse. What is the garbage that we acknowledge or recognize in ourselves? If it's the negative ego, with the desire for power to ruling others that we recognize so we can get rid of. So this is the 3 levels of the ark. So remember, the ark is our vessel, is our connection to the Source and our commitment. So it's really a time to maintain the commitment, use the restriction, and use the power of the Zohar. This is really the most important tool. So thank you guys for being here today.
Amen.
And a happy rest of the week in month of Scorpio, and see you next week. Thank you.
Do it.